to be taken care of. You look like you need to go to the dentist. You need to look like you need to brush your teeth. You look like you need hygiene. You look like you need help. Tell your man 50 send you an ounce or something, yo.
So I knew I was okay. When he sold 11 million records, he had deals with Jay-Z and them, but Jay-Z ain't gonna never.
So Jim Jones decided to clown Tony Yayo for being loyal to 50 Cent, and Uncle Murda stepped in with some words that shut the whole conversation down. And honestly, that might be the realest thing said about this situation because the receipts are there. We're talking decades of evidence on both sides, and when you look at how these two moguls actually treat the people who helped build their empires, the contrast is wild. This whole thing started pretty innocently. Tony Yayo did an interview where he talked about his relationship with 50 Cent, and he made a comparison that rubbed some people the wrong way. According to Yayo, 50 has been holding him down way more than Jay-Z ever did for his day ones like Memphis Bleek. Now, Yayo wasn't even taking direct shots at Jay, he was just speaking on what he experienced and what he observed from the outside looking in. Yayo explained that 50 doesn't just talk about brotherhood, he actually shows it. He keeps his day ones on tour, he plugs them into TV spots, he involves them in business plays, and he even flies them out just to relax. All 50 asks for in return is loyalty. That's it. Yayo said the music isn't even his main motivation at this point.
He eats on his own. I eat on my own too.
Right.
I go on my own tour. I just came off tour.
Right.
When have you seen Bleek on tour? On his own. Jay-Z is not a bad guy. Bleek is not a bad guy. I'm saying to you that Jay-Z was all business with them.
He came off the curb with 50, and that bond goes deeper than any contract. What makes this conversation so interesting is the history behind these relationships. 50 Cent, Tony Yayo, and Lloyd Banks all grew up together in South Jamaica, Queens. They weren't just business partners who met in the industry. They were childhood friends who formed G-Unit together and started grinding on mixtapes before any of them had major label deals. When 50 got shot 9 times in 2000 and lost his deal with Columbia Records, he didn't disappear. He came back and kept recording with Banks and Yayo, putting out underground mixtapes that eventually caught Eminem's attention. When Yayo got locked up in 2003 on gun charges, he missed the entire rollout for G-Unit's debut album Beg for Mercy. But 50 didn't forget him. Eminem even wore a free Yayo shirt at the 2003 Grammy Awards. That's the kind of loyalty we're talking about. When Yayo came home, he was immediately back in the fold, releasing his debut album Thoughts of a Predicate Felon in 2005. And then Jim Jones had to insert himself into the conversation. During a talk with Memphis Bleek on the show Artist to Artist, Jim started going at Yayo, calling him down bad, saying he still leans on 50 Cent to stay good. Jim tried to flip it like dependence instead of loyalty, like Yayo was some charity case that 50 keeps around out of pity. He was really disrespectful about it too. Jim told Yayo he looks like he needs to be taken care of, needs to go to the dentist, needs to brush his teeth.
Smoke hard coke, yo.
Yo, chill. Yo, chill.
You look like you need to be taken care of, nigga. You look like you need to go to the dentist. You need to look like you need to brush your teeth. You look like you need hygiene.
He even referenced the movie Paid in Full, saying he got a G for every bump on Yayo's face. That whole exchange was wild because Jim was going personal. He wasn't debating the actual point about loyalty. He was attacking Yayo's appearance and trying to embarrass him. Memphis Bleek was right there laughing along, which made the whole thing feel like they were ganging up on Yayo just for speaking his truth. But here's where it gets interesting. Uncle Murda wasn't about to let that slide. Murda has a unique perspective on this situation because he's actually been on both sides. He signed with Jay-Z's Roc-A-Fella Records back in 2007 and even appeared on a track with Jay-Z and Fabulous called Brooklyn. But things went downhill after Jay-Z departed from the label. In an interview with DJ Vlad, Murda confirmed that he split from Def Jam and Roc-A-Fella, claiming everything went south after Jay-Z's departure. Then in 2016, he signed with 50 Cent's G-Unit Records. So when Murda speaks on the difference between how Jay-Z and 50 Cent treat their people, he's talking from direct experience on both sides. Murda came through and made it loud and clear who really runs things. He said that with 50 Cent, it was business and friendship at the same time. He talked about how 50 encourages his people to invest their money smart, to go get a house instead of blowing cash on nonsense.
When Buck up on his taxes, 50 a piece of more. When Prodigy bought a house and needed more money, 50 a piece of more. Prodigy are paying back. The thing with 50 is, it was business and we was friends. I don't feel like Bleek was Jay-Z friend.
That's mentorship. That's looking out for your people's long-term well-being, not just their immediate wants. The internet completely split over this debate. Some people sided with Jim Jones, saying Yayo is just riding 50's success after all these years. They argued that just because Jay-Z doesn't flash his generosity on social media doesn't mean he's not taking care of people behind the scenes. Fair point, but the evidence they're working with is pretty thin. Memphis Bleek actually responded to the whole situation on Drink Champs. He said he doesn't need Jay to look out for him like that, he's eating on his own. If Hof did look out, Bleek would be way up there. But what you see from Bleek out here is the Blizzo budget. He made it clear he's self-sufficient and doesn't need the same kind of support that Yayo gets from 50. That's a fair response, but it also kind of proves the point that the dynamic is different. On the other side, way more people were annoyed that Jim Jones even got involved in the first place. Fans felt like this had nothing to do with him and he was just running his mouth to stay relevant. The comments were ruthless. People brought up how Jim once said he was better than Nas, like that alone should disqualify his opinion on anything. Others mentioned his airport incident and various other controversies over the years. The beef between 50 Cent and Jim Jones goes back years anyway. Their animosity dates back to the early 2000s when GUnit and Dipset were both at the height of their powers in New York hip-hop. 50 Cent has repeatedly trolled Jim on social media, bringing up the wiretap recordings from the Tekashi 6ix9ine trial, where Jim was heard on a phone call discussing the rapper.
Dude, I always tell him all the time, Jay-Z ain't treat me like this.
Oh, he definitely like playing. Yeah, this nigga.
Jay-Z might not even say hard as though.
So we just,
Yo,
you know,
Yayo
we just had a lit. Jay-Z will never take you to a party like this.
That history added more fuel to this fire. But let's really dig into why this conversation struck such a nerve. Because there's a long list of people who have had issues with Jay-Z over the years. Look at DeHaven Irby. This is someone who grew up with Jay-Z and Marcy projects. They met as 6th graders in the same building. DeHaven says they were like brothers, sharing clothes, money, and women. He even made Jay-Z the godfather of his daughter. But when DeHaven faced federal drug conspiracy charges in 1998, he claims Jay-Z promised support and then disappeared. DeHaven says Jay looked him in his face and told him not to worry, that he had him, and then he never saw him again. The case was eventually dismissed in 2000, but the damage to their relationship was done. Then in 2007, Jay-Z dropped No Hook on his American Gangster album with the lyrics about DeHaven caving, and that's why they don't speak. DeHaven felt like Jay was labeling him a snitch, which he called the utmost disrespect. He's done multiple interviews over the years talking about feeling betrayed and abandoned by someone he considered a brother. Then there's Jaz-O, the man who actually mentored Jay-Z before the world even knew his name. Jaz featured Young Jay on his songs Hawaiian Sophie and The Originators back in the late 1980s. He took Jay to London when he got his EMI deal. They continued collaborating through the Volume series albums. But after Jaz-O reportedly turned down a deal with Roc-A-Fella Records that he felt was too low,
Keep showing up next to down. That's an indication to me he might have some feelings towards me. That is just every week I got an issue. He show up around me. So I mean, you don't get music.
things turned sour. By 2002, they were trading shots on wax. Jay dissed him on tracks, calling him a bum, and Jaz responded with his own diss records. Now, to be fair, Jay-Z and Jaz-O actually reconciled. They reunited at Jay's 444 tour stop in Chicago in 2017, and Jay later signed Jaz to a distribution deal through Roc Nation around 2019. So that relationship was repaired, but it took over 15 years of beef before they got there. The Dame Dash situation is another story entirely. Dame was Jay-Z's partner from day one at Roc-A-Fella Records. They built that empire together with Kareem Biggs Burke. But when Jay took the position as president of Def Jam in 2004, which already owned a large stake in Roc-A-Fella, it essentially put him in control of both labels. Dame has said publicly that Jay betrayed him for money. He's called him cold and said that was some real slick business moves. The two haven't reconciled to this day, and there's ongoing legal disputes over Dame's shares in the company. Beanie Sigel is another one. He was one of the flagship artists at Roc-A-Fella, helped build State Property, and was considered one of the illest lyricists on the roster. But when Beans faced attempted murder and federal weapons charges in 2003, Jay-Z showed up to court to vouch for him. According to people who were there, when the judge asked if Jay would be responsible for Sigel if he was released, Jay said no. Beanie talked about it on Drink Champs, saying he'd never been crushed like that in his life. That moment took away a lot of what he thought they had as big brother and little brother.
Because the music ain't usually my motivation. My morals come off the curb. So if you see a nigga keep being around nigga, well, fuck, when you come around, how your antennas go. So he in a position where he might feel like he did.
To be fair, Beanie and Jay eventually patched things up. Beanie has said in hindsight he understands why Jay made that decision, but in the moment it felt like abandonment. Even Kanye West, who Jay-Z discovered as a producer and helped develop into one of the biggest artists of all time, had a very public falling out with him. They made Watch the Throne together in 2011, one of the greatest collaborative albums in hip-hop history. The tour became the highest-grossing hip-hop concert tour ever at that point. Jay described their relationship as a big brother thing and a respect thing. But by 2016, things had deteriorated. After Kim Kardashian was robbed at gunpoint in Paris, Kanye went on stage and called out Jay for not coming to see him personally. He said, "Don't call me and ask how I'm feeling. Come by the house, bring the kids, let's sit down like brothers." He also mentioned that their kids had never even played together. On his 444 album, Jay addressed the situation, saying what really hurt him was that Kanye brought his family into it. He called Kanye his little brother, but made it clear there was a line that got crossed. They've since reconciled. Kanye brought Jay out for the Donda album, and Jay rapped about the return of the throne. But again, it took years to repair that relationship. The pattern is consistent. When your value to Jay-Z's business seems to dip, or when things get complicated, relationships tend to fade. It's not necessarily personal, it's just how he moves. He operates like a corporation.
A lot of, me from the hood, so people look at Bleek and don't understand the business he's doing. They always look at Jay like, oh,
Yeah, that's why. That's why you got like Yayo talking about, Jay don't take care of it. I don't need Jay to go on tour.
You're around when it benefits both sides, but once the business slows down, the connection can fade too. Now compare that to 50 Cent's track record with Tony Yayo specifically. The same guy who's been with him since the South Jamaica days is still right by his side decades later. When 50 did his final lap tour in 2023, spanning over 70 cities across more than 20 countries, Yayo was right there the entire time. In an interview with Vlad TV, Yayo revealed that 50 paid for everything on that tour. The production, the road management, the catering, the dancers, even the stewardess on the private jet. Everyone was working as one team, and 50 footed the bill. Yayo said he made 6 figures on that tour just from performing. When asked about 50's success, Yayo said his merch is in the millions. He's an icon. He said you can ask anyone from Live Nation and they'll tell you that your favorite rapper can't do what 50 just did. That tour reportedly grossed over $100 million in ticket sales, making it the 4th hip-hop tour ever to surpass that mark. And Yayo was there for every step of it. 50 Cent himself has spoken about why his relationship with Yayo is different. In an interview with The Breakfast Club, 50 said Yayo is a different animal. If he does something wrong, no matter what the magnitude, the relationship with him is special. He contrasted that with other GUnit members like Lloyd Banks and Young Buck, saying they have different temperament and energy, and he doesn't like it anymore. But with Yayo, that bond is unbreakable.
Yeah, Jay don't look
out for Bleek like Fifth look out for you.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I just want to clear that up. Hov don't have to.
And then he said he eat his home halal.
You know what I mean?
All right, okay.
I'm chewing halal on my own.
Yayo has spoken about this too. He said he's got a couple of houses, he's made good money, he's traveled all over the world, and he's humble. He said he will forever be grateful to 50 Cent. He knows his position and he plays his role. He doesn't need unnecessary spotlight when he's around his big homie. That's the kind of dynamic that has kept them together for over 2 decades. The whole debate really comes down to 2 different philosophies for how you move when you reach the top. Jay-Z runs his operation like a boardroom. It's strategic, it's efficient, and people understand their role. When the role ends, so does the relationship sometimes. Nobody would call that approach wrong necessarily. It built an empire. Jay-Z became the first hip-hop billionaire for a reason. But it also leaves a trail of former associates who have expressed feeling iced out and forgotten at various points. 50 Cent runs his operation more like a family meeting. If you were there during the grind, you're still part of the picture when the wins get bigger. There's no revolving door of people cycling through his inner circle when it comes to his day ones. The faces stay the same because the loyalty runs both ways. Tony Yayo, Uncle Murda, they're still eating because 50 makes sure they eat. Some fans are saying Jay played the game exactly how it's supposed to be played, cold but effective. Others are saying that mindset costs you real relationships that money can never buy back. And with 50, the pattern has always been different. He doesn't erase people from the story just because the chapter changes. That's really why Uncle Murda's words hit so hard. It wasn't about randomly dissing Jay or hyping up 50 for no reason. It was about pointing out two completely different approaches to leadership and loyalty when you're at the top of the game. Both can lead to success, but only one seems to build bonds that actually last through every season. So what do you think? Is Jay-Z's business-first approach the smarter play for longevity in this industry? Or does 50 Cent have it right by keeping his day ones close no matter what? Drop your take in the comments. If you're rocking with this breakdown and want more real talk on hip-hop's biggest beefs and power moves, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and share this with somebody who needs to hear it.